Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're in the Seasonal Championship Contemporary Italian, which has us in S1 class modern supercars from Italy. This isn't obviously a modern supercar, but it is a glorious car regardless. The Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale, one of the best looking cars going, and an amazing sounding one as well. Yeah, 2 litre V8, high revving as you can see. 9,000 RPM plus, which is ridiculously high revving, especially for the 60s and in a road car no less. So yeah, so this is what we're going to get there in. Although I don't know why it takes us down dirt roads when we're clearly in a non-dirt road car, but regardless, that's one of my few flaws that I have with this game. Still, should get there in no time at all with 245 horsepower and this weighs less than 1,600 pounds, which yeah, is not very heavy at all. It's basically the weight of, say, a Fiat 500 or maybe a VW Beetle from around the time, and yet you've got triple the power, maybe even more than that. So
in 400 yards,
yeah, right.
Turn left.
Nearly there. The rain isn't impeding us too much, even though this has very little in the way of technical innovations, but old school grip and chassis handling helps us. So yeah, let's see where we're going to be racing and what we're going to be racing in. So we're up north for the other 2 races, but we're down south for this first one. So yeah, what we in? Right, we've got the ATS GT to choose from, a bunch of Ferraris, 6 in fact. We've got the Ferrari 296 GTB, which we've already seen in a previous championship, so I'm unlikely to get in that one. Then we've got the Ferrari F8 Tributo, the 488 GTB, the J50, the 458 Italia, and the oldest Ferrari here, the 430 Scuderia, which, you know, is still a pretty quick car. 503 horsepower and doesn't even weigh all that much. And then finally we've got 6 Lamborghinis. Again, we've already tried out the Huracan Tecnica in a previous championship, so like the 296 I'm unlikely to try that again, but we've also got the Huracan Evo, the Gallardo Superleggero, which is one of my favourite Lamborghinis, the Lamborghini Rebenton, and then the Lamborghini Murcielago, again another favourite Lamborghini of mine, and the Huracan, the standard one, which I don't like. I know it's weird how, you know, other Huracans can be a lot better, but as you can see, the Tecnica for instance has slightly less weight, more power, more torque, and the handling and braking is just better as well, so it's just overall a better driver's car. So we'll start off with Ferrari, and I think we'll go for the F8 Tributo maybe, or the J50, which is the better handling. Well, actually they've got the same handling, but weirdly the J50 is slightly worse in terms of braking. Imagine because the F8 Tributo is slightly newer. We'll go for this then. It is technically the replacement for the 296, because as you can see it's got less power and less torque, but it also has less in the way of weight, and yeah, as you can see that makes it a better handling car and also a better braking car as well. So despite the 296 being a replacement for this car, at least I think it's supposed to be, this in terms of handling and braking, so therefore also in terms of being a driver's car, is better than the 296, which yeah, has way more power, 107 extra horsepower, but this definitely seems to handle that power that it has a lot better. A lot more conventional though in terms of its looks over the 296. You've got the quad rear headlights, being the distinctive mark of Ferrari for many, many years. Well, despite being a couple of years older than the 296, it's still no slouch. Fair bit of understeer there than I was expecting. Expected a lot more turning from this car, especially given, you know, it's not all-wheel drive. Quickly made up for that mistake. So yeah, even back whenever this came out, 2017 was it, or 19, whichever, this was still a remarkable car, and it still is today, to be honest. More than 700 horsepower in this. is quite spectacular. You have to remember it was only just over a decade or so before this that we had the Enzo, which we were massively impressed with its more than 600 horsepower. So this is obviously a lot more capable on a on-road and on a day-to-day basis over the Enzo ever was, which did feel a little bit track-centric. This and the 296 are definitely way more capable in the straight line and in terms of general speed and all that lot, but also have nailed the road handling and the day-to-day usage that you can get out of these cars as well, which just wasn't the case with the Enzo. Yeah, I've been enjoying the track reveals that have been going on with the up-and-coming Forza Motorsport, although I am a little bit concerned that the Nürburgring isn't in the game as standard, which is baffling as far as I'm concerned. That's a track that should be in any Forza Motorsport game as standard on day of release. It should not be something that is coming 6 months down the line or wherever it's going to be, because they're saying spring, I think 2024, which could be as late as April. So yeah, that is a little bit annoying, and yeah, something that is going to be concerning when starting that game. But regardless, we got first place in this race. Don't think we're a million miles ahead. Yeah, just under 2 seconds ahead of the Lamborghini Murcielago. So not a million miles ahead with the Tributo there, but still a fantastic car. Only a little bit of understeer got us out, caught us out a little bit. So yeah, but that was a bit of a shame. But still got the win regardless. So yeah, let's move on to the second race and see what happens. Right, so the F8 Tributo got us a solid win there. I know I don't normally go for the same manufacturer more than once in a championship, but as you can see we only have 3 to choose from, and even though the ATS GT is a properly quick car, as you can see it's got 720 horsepower and weighs less than 3,000 pounds, I'm just not a massive fan of the car in general, to be honest. I don't think the handling is particularly great for a car of that kind of power, and as you can see the braking is even worse than the F8 Tributo there, so even though it's got extra power than over that car. So we're going to go for a pair of Lamborghinis, because there are 2 in here that I love driving, and we're going to go for the Superleggera first, because it's an absolutely stonking great car. For my money, probably the best version of the Gallardo, although I do really rather like the Spider as well. Unfortunately that's in A-class due to the extra weight of being a convertible, but yeah, it's obviously outdated now in comparison to some more modern Lamborghinis. As you can see, the braking isn't quite as good as, say, an Evo, and yeah, even though the handling is slightly better, no doubt because it doesn't weigh all that much, as you can see, it's still nowhere near as technical as a more modern Lamborghini, but still really rather good handling and braking for what it's got in terms of power and torque, and as you can see, it weighs very little as well. So yeah, absolutely adore this car. I remember driving it a ton of amount of time on previous Forza games, especially when there weren't that many other Lamborghinis that were modern to choose from. Obviously that's grown over time, the more that more Lamborghinis that have been out and in newer games and all of that lot. But back in early 2010s, there weren't that many Lamborghinis to choose from that were modern to race, to be honest. So yeah, and this was one of my favourites. So hopefully it won't let me down. Nice naturally aspirated engine, nicely high revving as well. And even though the handling stats aren't as good as the F8 Tributo, because it does have 4-wheel drive, it's a lot more predictable to handle, and yeah, you don't have to worry whatsoever of that power not being able to be put down onto the ground. Sure, it's got more understeer because it is all-wheel drive, but you're more ready for that, knowing that it's got all-wheel drive, because you expect understeer from an all-wheel drive car. So why on earth was that Ferrari stopping dead? Not a clue, but oh well, gave us an extra place. Whereas like with the F8 Tributo, I wasn't expecting the understeer that car had at times, because it's rear wheel drive only, so you expect the front end to be a little bit more sharper, because it's not got a diff lock getting in the way. to turn and all that lot, gives you extra turning when you don't have anything up front that's powering the wheels. So yeah, so I wasn't expecting them to do in that car, but I do expect it in this. So yeah, getting back to the new Forza Motorsport game, like I said, the tracks are on the whole really rather good. It's just, like I said, a shame that Nürburgring isn't in the standard game. Hopefully it's not a precursor to, you know, paying for tracks in a game, which would be stupid beyond belief, because not only is that making the game more expensive to play, but it would also limit what tracks can be used online. You'd have plenty of tracks on single player, but then, you know, you couldn't very well expect the bought for tracks to be used online, because not everyone's guaranteed to have them. So yeah, it would be very stupid. But hopefully it also means that if they are adding Nürburgring after the fact, that they are going to add other tracks later down the line that necessarily didn't have time to do. But still beggars belief that Nürburgring isn't going to be in the game in standard form, and we're going to have to wait several months to get it. But regardless, again, the Lamborghini have, well, again I say, but again we have had a win, and the Lamborghini Gallardo, which is one of my favourite Lamborghinis, has given us that pole position. So yeah, and by a bit more of a margin than we had in the F8 Tributo as well. So that gives us another 20 points, giving us 40 overall, meaning we're 10 ahead of the 458 and 14 ahead of the newer Huracan. So yeah, let's get on to the third and final race and see if we can seal the deal on this championship. Right, so for this third and final race, we're going to get in another Lamborghini of mine that is that I own on this game, that is a favourite of mine, and it is the Murcielago. So despite being a year older than the Gallardo, it's got better braking, so it's got slightly better handling, and it's got way more power and torque as well, although it is a heavier car. But it's not surprised it has more power, because it's got a much bigger engine as well. It's got 2 extra cylinders, that's a V12, and it's 6.5 litres rather than the 5.2 of the Gallardo. So yeah, 1300 cc's extra as well. So yeah, monumentally quick car back in the day. Not quite as quick these days, obviously, because there are far quicker Lamborghinis out there. Hell, even the Reventon from 2 years prior, despite having slightly less in the way of power, is a properly quick car as well. Although I'd say maybe not quite as quick as this, although the braking is better than that, weirdly enough, even though the handling is worse. So yeah, but this is a fantastic car. I think it looks excellent. Sounds brilliant as well, with that naturally aspirated V12 bellowing out the back. So yeah, hopefully it will give us the third win in this championship. But even if it doesn't, it's a fantastic car to drive. So yeah, at least it will be fun to hoon around this point-to-point race. Got the best of launches on this car. That's the only real flaw as far as I'm concerned. I love those side vents that pop out when the car gets up to a certain rate of speed or a certain rate of temperature in the engine. I'm sure which comes first. The car would look even better if they were up all the time. Those vents are the kind of thing you just don't get with Lamborghinis anymore. It's a kind of silliness that I kind of miss from Lamborghini. Obviously we've had the likes of the SE90 it's called, which has no roof and anything like that, and obviously the Aventador J, which was also similar to that. But they're not particularly practical cars, and you probably look a bit stupid driving around town in one of them on a day-to-day basis, whereas this looks normal most of the time, but when those wings or those vents stick out, it looks even better. It looks pretty mad as well. Oh, sorry Ferrari, go on there. God, it sounds good. So does the Ferrari, to be honest. But in the case of this Lamborghini versus that Ferrari, for once it's not the V8 that I prefer the sound of. Just about got on the inside there. That Ferrari was giving us a run for our money for a lot of that race there. But we've got the win eventually. While looking fantastic in the process. So yeah, 3 for 3 there. Not often that I get that, quite frankly, but still. Makes a change as far as I'm concerned, and a nice change for that as well. Not quite as far ahead as the competition in that Lamborghini as before in the previous 2 cars. Less than a second ahead of the Ferrari, which was, yeah, like I said, giving us a run for our money. But still, that just makes the racing all the more exciting. So, yeah, 14 points ahead of the 430S that was behind us, and 20 points ahead of the J50. So, yeah, overall, I enjoyed 3 of those cars, and more importantly, it gives you 5 points towards the festival place overall, which will give you 5 points towards the 2 new cars added to the game, although they aren't new to the Forza series overall, but still well worth getting as they are fantastic cars. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.